Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion that we change the order of the articles being discussed. I would ask for a second to support me on moving Article 16, pickleball courts, up forward now so that we can stop this process of trying to talk about future articles and using the undesignated fund balance and address what the target is.
Second.
There's a motion to move Article 16 forward. Give me a second, I want to confer. Okay, there's a motion on the floor to move Article 16 forward, to have that discussion now. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of moving 16 forward, please raise your ballot card. Thank you. All opposed? We'll move 16 forward.
Point of order, Mr. Moderator, or point of clarification. Article 16 is still going to be numbered Article 16. We're not changing that. We're just discussing it now.
Correct.
Thank you.
Taking the articles, as you would say, out of order. Article 16, pickleball courts. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $490,000 for the design and construction of up to 10 public pickleball courts, and further to authorize the use of $250,000 from the June 30th unassigned fund balance towards this appropriation. This special warrant article will be a non-lapsing appropriation per RSA 32:7, Roman 6, and will not lapse until the earlier of the completion of its purpose or June 30th, 2030. If passed, this article will require the town to raise $240,000 in property taxes, resulting in a tax rate impact of 3.8 cents in fiscal year 25 based upon projected assessed values. I'll accept the motion to open the article for discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Council, your vote on this article?
Council voted 4 in favor, 1 opposed.
Budget Committee?
4 in favor, 3 opposed.
Before we open discussion, let's do the presentation, please.
Very simply, Mr. Moderator, this article appropriates funding towards the building of up to 10 pickleball courts in the town of Londonderry.
Thank you. I do have an amendment that's been proposed. Mr. Belinsky, would you please present your amendment?
Richard Belinsky, 89 Hall Road. My amendment is to zero the dollars out on this particular item. The reason being, I find it to be premature. We have a $490 number that we're looking at. It doesn't include any engineering that was done. There's been no soil samples done. We don't know if we're going to run into sand under there, water where you might need state permits, ledge, you have no idea. You start a project, any construction project, with engineering, so you know what you're looking at. This is not. This has actually been acknowledged by the Pickleball Committee. I asked for the minutes of their meetings, and in their September meeting and in their November meeting minutes, a member, and it doesn't matter the member, I'm not going to say their name, made a good point about needing an engineering study before any general contractor could make a legitimate quote. Kristen will talk to John Trotti, the town engineer, about how to proceed. We then discussed and agreed that the RFQ will be worded as such, worded to include the assumption that the land is ready to go. So this isn't me. They're coming out and they know they need an engineering study. They didn't do it. You don't know what you're going to find under the land. The land is currently covered with trees. So unless somebody can answer the question to me, what are we going to find in that soil? So you got $490,000. That's been allotted to the build. I understand when it's all said and done, you could use a portion of that for engineering fees. They could be $5,000, they could be $10,000. John Trotter, if he's still here, would have a better idea of what the number could be. But then, depending on what it finds, you don't know what the cost could be to do the site prep. They've already admitted you can't get a legitimate quote because you don't have any engineering. So this is kind of putting the cart before the horse. Just for full disclosure, I'm against it because to me this is a want, not a need. Somewhere we have to save the taxpayers some money. But if it's going to be done and the people voted in, they need to vote it in having better information than what we have. They say they can't get legitimate. This is not me saying it. It's in their minutes. And anybody who's ever been involved in anything, I believe, Ted, you've been in the business, you need engineering. We don't have it. If they had the engineering done, they were looking for this, it'd be a different story. Not my words, their words.
So for my clarification, your amendment reduces the $490,000 appropriation to zero.
Correct.
Okay,
Because we're
thank you.
not ready for this.
Okay. So there's an amendment on the floor that's been seconded. Any discussion on the amendment?
I don't know.
Who seconded it?
I'll second it, Tara Miles.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Tara Miles, 11 Lancaster Drive. While I totally support pickleball courts in Londonderry, I think that this is premature. I feed, clothe, and house my children as a primary before I go buy a vacation, right? This is recreational. It is not necessary in town until we educate our children with full-day kindergarten. We need to be allocating our money, taking care of our business first, and then go for pleasure after. I will fully support this on a future ballot, but I don't support any funds going toward pickleball until our children are fully educated in a building that works.
Thank you. Discussion is open on the amendment, which is to zero the dollar amount.
Hi, good morning, Garrett 80, 8 Hyde Park Circle. Would like to point out that the amendment as, pardon, not the amendment, the original ballot initiative as proposed. I believe the math is if you own a $500,000 home, it's $19 one-time assessment, if I've done my math correctly. To the lady who just spoke, I would point out that here in town, we have town paid for baseball fields, softball fields with lights, tennis courts, basketball courts, playgrounds. So I guess I take exception to the assessment of this being a want and not a need. To me, this is fundamental infrastructure that a town is providing to its citizens for recreation. And so therefore, Richard's amendment is strongly opposed.
Thank you. Further discussion on the amendment itself.
So my name is Brian Smolik, and I live at 25 Mullen Drive. I am a member of the Pickleball Committee, and I want to take exception to what was said about us not doing our homework on the land. We walked the property countless times. As a matter of fact, there's half a dozen soccer fields right next to where we're talking about building our fields or our courts. They didn't run into any kind of soil problem. They didn't have any problem with leveling the land. So let's not overplay what was said there before. This land is being in use, and from here to the parking lot is a soccer field in perfect shape. Okay? So I want to make that point here. You know, the other thing I want to make a point is this. There's a wave of activity coming our way that we're missing here. Right now we have 750 people right now that are on the Facebook site alone for Londonderry expressing interest in this. We had a senior expo about a month and a half ago, which we had a good 50 or 60 people saying, I want to play, sign me up. And then last Saturday, you know, to my surprise, we had over 200 people show up to play pickleball at the high school, showing interest. Now here's an interesting fact. We set it up, we had 5 courts. And I said we'll have 1 court for beginners, 1 court for intermediate, and 2 courts for advanced, just so everybody can play at their level. Very quickly we figured out that most of 90% of the people there were seniors who never played before, who are dying to have some kind of adult activity in town that we don't have. Remember what I said before, Within 20 miles of us, there are 13 towns. All of them, except for us, have a pickleball program. All of them. And here's something else, okay, in my part-time, I
Mr.
officiate high
Smolik,
school
please,
basketball games.
please speak directly into the microphone. Can hear
I
you.
apologize.
Thank
I
you.
officiate high school basketball games. I've been to 22 dozen schools this year, and every time I go, the first thing I do is I talk to the athletic director. Last night I was in Newmarket, way out in Newmarket, out by Exeter. I asked the question, what are you doing about pickleball? Every single one of them has nets, has court plans, and is going to be playing this thing next year, because it's a sport that's going to be scholastic, and it's going to be required. So what do we do to prepare for that? You know, the point that was made a minute ago about 17 cents, that's 17 cents or $17 one time for 1 year to get this project funded and on the road. That's it. So there's no ongoing burden here. And as far as the courts go, I made a presentation on December 4th for those who came, and it's available online. We got down to the nuts and bolts about who I talked to, who I walked the land with, and what this is going to cost us to do. Yes, I did sit down with a paving company. Yes, we did walk through the woods. Yes, there are trees. But this is not going to be Mount Kilimanjaro. This is something that's very feasible to do. So let's not miss the opportunity here that this is going to cost people who can't afford to pay taxes or are not in a position to pay higher taxes, our seniors, for example, $17 one time. That's all we're talking about here. And they get what they have here, which is a program that they can play at. Oh, by the way, you know, we're to the point now where we can't go to Derry. We can't go to Manchester Blandder courts because it's citizens only. So there's nothing here in Londonderry, and pretty soon, I hope, a year from now or less, we're going to have courts that will be admired, and we're going to be able to take care of everybody, young and old, to play pickleball there. So please, don't accept this amendment. Please go for the whole program, because that's what our town needs. Thank you.
Mr.
Moderator.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Moderator, we have 12 plus 55 and older communities in this town already. We have over 1,300 dwellings in this community of over 55. Those communities pay us $15 million in taxes. 11 million of those taxes go to the schools. When looking at this opportunity, we talk all the time about disenfranchising voters. This amendment disenfranchises the voters. Just because you're the loudest doesn't mean you're the most. Let the people vote.
Further discussion?
Mr. Town Moderator, I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
So there's a comment brought up that there's been no engineering done, nothing looking at the land or anything done, but these dollars that are put forth with this article do include engineering and studies and making sure that the land is done right. So you can't just not do engineering without spending money. You have to be able to spend associate money, spend the money, do the engineering, and then do the work to construct these courts. That's how that works. You can't just zero this out and say, oh, I want to do engineering, and now try and figure out if this will work for the site. You have to be able to spend the money and then do it. That's how construction works. You can't just say, oh, I want to look at this and do engineering, but I don't want to pay for it. So I am fully against this amendment. Please do not vote for this.
Thank you.
amendment.
Ms. Paul?
Deb Paul, 118 Hardy Road. I want to say that I am for this amendment. I am actually in agreement with Tara and Richard, and it isn't a one-time cost. You will have to maintain this. We got grants and fundraised for our skateboard park, which ended up falling into a little bit of a disarray. We have beautiful tennis courts that we got through a grant. They need like $40,000. The high school team is playing and competing on terrible courts. And to me, fixing those things that we already have are a bigger priority. And I just wanted to say that I am against it, and I think that Tara was spot on with, we have other things that are way more important, such as water, such as schools, and they should fundraise, and maybe this gentleman should get a business loan and open up his own place.
Thank you. Further new discussion on the proposed warrant amendment?
My name is Ann James, Wiley Hill Road, Londonderry. I'm a senior. My husband and I are both retired, so we're limited income. I get what they're trying to do here, but we have so many other issues. Water, speed, traffic safety, fire and police. We need to fix all of these problems before we can put some money towards a warrant.
Thank you.
John Esposito, 5 Shelley Drive. I just wanted to speak in favor of the amendment. I'm in favor of zeroing it out as Mr. Belinsky proposed, and I have no particular objection to pickleball. I do see it as more of a want rather than a need compared to the many issues that we have discussed here at our deliberative. But if the voters are ultimately for it, that's absolutely fine. I'm for anything that the voters are for. The concern that I have is that I think the warrant article is poorly drafted in the language. It says the design and construction of up to 10 pickleball courts, but it does not specify how many. I heard the remarks from the gentleman who was on the pickleball study committee who stated that, well, geez, it's in the area of the West Fields, and they didn't run into any engineering issues there. They didn't have to do any major dredging or filling and so on. But on the off chance, without a prior engineering study, that we do start digging into this land and find out that there's water or there's some issue that has to be mitigated for, and those engineering costs now go through the roof, we may have appropriated this money, and the folks in town may end up getting 2 courts or 4 instead of 10 because we didn't properly plan for the actual design and construction costs. So I'm in favor of the amendment purely because the original wording of the warrant article does not really meet the needs of the voters. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, if I may?
Yes, sir.
We've heard a lot of advocacy today for letting people vote and the power of people's votes and hearing what the voters want on the ballot. And if we zero this amendment, this article, that's taking away that opportunity for the voters to express what they want on pickleball. Whether you're for or against pickleball, I think we should let it go to the ballot and let the voters decide rather than decide it here at this meeting with the amendment.
So noted. Thank you. Additional information on the amendment that you'd like to share?
Well, first of all, Richard Belinsky, in Colorado. First of all, they'd still be able to vote. There'd just be no dollar issue, or no dollar amount. I'm not opposed to, and it would have to be another amendment, amended my amendment to 10,000, then you can do the engineering to find out. Ted mentioned that the engineer is included in the 490. It's not. I've got their presentation, and it's $250,000 for site prep and base, court surfacing post 80, fencing 90, lighting 70, that's 490. So yes, you can take money out of that 490 to do the engineering, but it's not included. I called the town person that's working with pickleball, and they said, no, it's not in there, it can come out of the 490. Their own minutes, as I read, state they don't have any engineering. You want to amend it to 10,000 so we have enough to do engineering, I'm fine with that. But even at zero, you can still put it on there, there'd just be no dollar, and then you'd at least know where the people stand on this. And they talk about seniors, just for full disclosure again, I'll be 64 in April, I'm one of them. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes.
So, as someone I think this is a want, not a need, but I do not agree with zeroing it out. The voters should be able to choose whether they want this or not. I voted no on this warrant, and I intend to vote no for it again in March, but we shouldn't just zero it out. If the taxpayers and townspeople want pickleball courts, we should give them the opportunity to vote for it. Zeroing out just eliminates that option for them.
And those points have been made. Right now, we're in a situation of, yes, I'm in favor, and no, I'm not. So I think we're ready to have a vote on the amendment, unless, ma'am, you have something new to offer us?
Hi, Dawn Calvert, 12 Preserve Drive, Londonderry. I just wanted to say that I actually am on the pickleball committee too, and the site prep, that number, it does include the engineering report. It has money in there for that. So what he said is not valid. Also, I really feel like this should go to vote the way it is, just because we need these for quality of life in Londonderry, and I don't think that $17 a one-time, I mean, if I did a collection today, I'm pretty sure I could probably get $20 out of each and every one of you for one time to have something nice for us for the rest of our lives. And as far as upkeep, we did research on that, and there is not that much, and there will be other ways to figure that out, so it won't be a tenant problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're going to vote on the amendment, which is to zero out the dollar amount in the warrant article as presented. All those in favor of the amendment, raise your card. All those opposed to the amendment. The amendment fails. So we're now back to discussion on the warrant article as written.
Excuse me, Ann Champa, 28 Wedgewood Drive, thank you. I'd like to make an amendment to remove the words "and further to authorize the use of $250,000 from the June 30 unassigned fund balance towards this appropriation." So it would be $490,000 coming straight from the voters, not using the unassigned fund balance.
Okay. Mr. Palmer will help you with the amendment. Who's best positioned to respond to that? Mr. Campo?
Point of order. Do you need a second, Mr. Moderator?
Oh, yes, thank you. Second the amendment? Several. Yep, thank you. So the amendment is to take nothing from unassigned fund balance and to fund the full $490,000 from tax revenue. Any discussion on the amendment?
Thank you for raising it. Again, this is your money. Use it how you think you should use it. I would just say, we have critical needs. I tried to highlight that with previous warrant articles. That's my amendments, sorry. Yeah, I think it should be able to pass on its own if it's going to pass, as is the amendment's written.
Further discussion on the amendment. Mr. Belinsky.
Richard Belinsky, 89 Hall Road. I can go with this amendment. Then you'll get a true feeling if people want it, because they have to pay the full burden of the costs. Still think we don't have engineering, still don't think it has been presented right to the people, still think it's, and this isn't a pick on the people that were on the committee. I'm sure they put in a ton of time doing it. But you don't have the answers you need to know what the costs are going to be. You just simply don't. So take the $250 out of the undesignated fund balance, let it stand on its own and see where it goes.
Thank you. Discussion on the amendment? You may. I'll let these speakers go first.
Brian Smolik, 25 Molten Drive. Please remember what I said before about how we're trying to use our undesignated funds the right way. In my opinion, the right way is to go ahead and give back to people who put into the town, taxpayers. By using this $250,000, we're lowering the tax burden, and those who are affected the most, as I said before, are those of us where this tax burden would affect us the hardest. So if I can reduce that by $250K and asking for $240K from the voters, again, $19 one-time fee, this is a true benefit to a majority. Remember, measured by what happened last Saturday, 80% of the people there are the voters that we're talking about here, the retired folks who want to have an adult activity in here in town, which we do not have. Don't shoot this down because it's just going to burden them harder, and that's not a good thing for us to do as members of Londonderry.
Ms. Champa, you had something further to add about your amendment? You asked for further time.
I didn't understand, excuse me. Well, I think someone mentioned this is a want, not a need, which is true. We have so many other things coming up. I was here at last night's deliberative session for the school department. We're seeing the numbers from them. We want the kids to have a great education in this town. I'd rather put my money, I'm a senior. I've been retired for a couple of years now. I think we should look towards the future for our kids before our wants and this is a want. In Derry, they're showing that they're going to be using the gyms for pickleball courts indoors. How about we think about that, if they want pickleball in this town? They can be reused for pickleball courts. So I think this, taking money out of the undesignated fund balance to lighten the load is just not right, because I think the people should be able to vote on the true amount of this, if it is the true amount, and there aren't future requests coming next year or the year after that for lights, fences, or wherever. So I think that it should pass or fail on its own merits, and it should say that the whole $450,000 on the warrant article. Thank you.
And that's what your amendment calls for. All $490,000 comes from tax revenue.
Yes, people can vote
Got it.
on it, whether they want to
Got
spend
it.
all the money or not.
Yep.
Thank you.
Gentlemen? Sir?
Mr. Moderator, Greg DeVas, 21 Welch Road. With that amendment, can you just clarify what the Article 16 tax impact number would be?
7.7 cents.
Versus what is it now?
3.8 cents.
3.8, okay. Thank you. Seeing no further discussion on the amendment, we will vote on the amendment to take no money out of unassigned fund balance and to fund the full value of the article from tax revenue. All those in favor of the amendment, raise your card. All those opposed to the amendment? So we're going to need to count. So all those in favor, please raise your card and hold it high. 4, you're voting for the amendment. Voting in favor of the amendment to take no money out of unassigned fund balance. Counters, do you have a count on that one? You ready? Okay, those opposed to the amendment. This would be to leave the warrant article as it is currently written. We're going to use a secret ballot for this one. Yes. How many voters are in?
Mr. Moderator, which ballot are we using?
We're using A. Ballot A, please. Remove A from your stack and check yes or no. You're checking yes if you're in favor of the amendment. You're checking no if you're not in favor of the amendment. And please stay in your seat. Your ballot will be collected from you at your seat. Do not pass your ballots down the row.
Pass or fail. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? We should be able to vote. No.
So what am I voting on?
You're voting yes or no to the amendment.
Yes, if you're in favor, yeah. No, if you're against.
No.
Which ones did we skip over here?
Second number. Go back to
It's hard to type and keep it all straight. It's so hard to keep it straight.
Let the seniors know some of this stuff. We're sensitive to it. They won't. Kids can just go it underneath the See, now you I'm winding up.
It was just a kind of a positive idea about how.
I'm winding. Here, just turn this on. No, I know, right?
Want us to talk? I'll still talk. We can disagree.
I did too, except. Oh, you might have.
The hardest one is already happening. That really is. You have to think about the future. We don't know what future contaminants might be. You know, it's only been a few years since we went to a PFAS. Might be something new in the future.
The original count, just by holding our cards up, was 44-46. I don't know in which direction, but there were 44 for one and 46 for the other. It's hard with cards because sometimes they're not held up high enough, so.
That's good. Let's forget about this. Let's forget about this.
We are counting.
This is the flavor of the
I know, right? But that was a big
It's like, you know something, don't fund the football.
Big no. But they're free.
But then you have to touch the...
True, to turn off.
Because I don't mean that. I don't think about it.
Yeah.
No, it's not funny, sorry. It's not funny. Education is out.
It's great. Conservative.
I made sure to be
It's not
super.
funny.
I was going to say.
I see.
I'll be there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've been waiting to hear me just
I always said, the same.
most of it.
So, are you
Yeah.
right?
People come and don't tell them like nobody's working. That sounds like it's being worked. It's going to get the process.
Hold on. Right.
That will help us.
Exactly.
For 10?
No, we did 9.
We did 9.
We didn't do 10.
Yeah, right. You want to go back
Has to do with DPW, correct?
Yes.
No, capital, fire department, capital, compared to the fire department.
Right. Yeah. It's not on that either.
The voters are. What? Yeah. But I mean, like, for example, so if something a voter brings up, they say, oh, I need an official budget, even though it's not.
Correct.
And that will be clear from the language.
Say, right, so I think negotiations make a motion on saying express advisory's opinion.
That
would be
should
perfectly appropriate.
express advisory, we should have
What?
People were asking. No, I brought the wrong.
It really depends. But I'll talk about it.
I'd have to, I had one sorted by just the town. I'll send you he says this was it right here.
Please take your seats. Time to get back to business.
When someone says, well, we pay too much tax, that's what I started.
How you doing?
I don't like it, but I get it. Yeah, me too.
Those need to be secured.
Thank you for your patience. It's important to get this right. That's why we took the time to do the secret ballot.
Secret ballot.
For the vote on the amendment to remove authorizing $250,000 from the warrant article, the amendment failed 49 to 46. So the amendment fails. We're back to the warrant article as originally published. And that remains open for any discussion that we haven't already heard about pickleball courts.
Don't come up and talk. Don't come up.
Hello, my name is Chris Samolik, 25 Moulton Drive. I am married to the task force member on pickleball. I don't play pickleball much because he always wins, and I don't like that. Not really. But I want to say something, and it kind of touches on some of the education and the priority in town. And I think what makes a really good town is family. And I think everybody in the room might agree with that. And families are key to the success of any society. And families are made up of 3 generations. So when I see someone in their 60s or 70s go out on a pickleball court with their 8-year-old grandchild, and they're laughing and they're playing, it brought joy to my heart. And I'm not a big sports enthusiast, but I have seen how this particular sport can unite people in families and in communities. So for seniors who have options to stay indoors all day, or go outside in the fresh air and hit a paddle and have fun and laugh and make friends and get exercise, which is really good for them. Because if you retire at 70, the way we get health care, you're going to be alive till 95. So for 25 years, you don't want to sit around. You want to live. And this sport helps people get out and do things with people. So it's not just a want to versus a have to. It's an important part of life. And whoever designed this sport, I think should get an award for it, because it really works. So that's my thing. I'm glad it's going to be on the ballot, and I would just ask that you would tell people and share the truth about the sport. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of moving the question, takes a 2/3 vote. Raise your cards if you're in favor. It's unanimous. The question is moved, the warrant is, the article is moved to the ballot as originally written. Thank you. We have a motion and a second to restrict reconsideration. All those in favor? Reconsideration is restricted.